Hi everyone. So for today I wanted to let you know I read up to chapter 4 of the Lexity, and it's a good document. I guess basically it's looking at all the ways that we encounter poverty in life. And for me, I'm a lay person, so I'm not a companion of the Jesuits. I didn't take any vows. I didn't take any commitment to them. So I'm a lay person. I work for my living and I care for my family. So I have a responsibility to my mother and my nieces and nephews, my brother, my sister, my in-laws. I'm a lay person, so I'm somebody that I take my education in theology and I go out and I work. And when I'm invited to, then I do help with giving retreats and things like that. But it's a good document to read, to basically look at what the church has done, the institutions they've set up. And for us, we're not considered extremely poor, even though we are, because I have no money in my bank account. Whatever I have is from the charity of people who have given me money, especially over this last year, because the EI, the employment insurance, only lasts for a year. And it's your rate that you get paid depends on the percentage of people that are unemployed in Canada. So for me, that has run out, and it's urgent for me to get work and to get a paid position, because my citizenship also depends on that. When you come into Canada, you have to know your rights, but also your responsibilities. And one of your responsibilities is that you are integrated into this society. So you give up your citizenship of where you were born, which is unfortunate. So I'm no longer considered a Zimbabwean, but I do help for Zimbabwe. I sign petitions, and where there's things that I agree with them on, I support them. I think the most important thing for us is to recognize that we can't, like people are saying, we can't keep blaming America, because we have to build up our own countries and come together with other nations who are not as powerful as America and see what we can do to help each other. So the document is good. It's basically looking at how Christ, for that time, Christ was considered an artisan, so he was a carpenter and a son of a carpenter. But his status was also in the church because he was a rabbi. People who are farmers, who are landowners, they are considered the elite of society. So somebody like me who goes out and works as, say, a laborer or an executive assistant who has a trade, we're not considered as important as somebody like the farmer, because the farmer is the landowner, and that was true in Jesus's day as well. So in the class system, Jesus was in the middle. He wasn't right at the bottom, but he wasn't also right at the top, and except in the theology, like in the temple teaching, he was a rabbi. So there were others who were above him, but he was important. And so too with us, we have gifts, we have talents, and the document is basically looking at how are the ways that we can help the poor. So with alms giving, for me, I don't have that much to give, but when I pick up my groceries, I pick up a package for the Daily Bread Food Bank, because I can't go there. It's too far away for me to go. When I used to go before with Murray Landry, and we used to go because then we would carpool and all of us would go and help. But now I don't do that. So when I'm doing my groceries, I pick up one of those, and that's my way of giving to help the poor. And you basically look at the things that Jesus did. So, clothing the naked. If we see somebody naked and we don't have clothes ourselves, you're not going to have anything to give them. So I bought this shirt. I replace my clothing once a year now when I'm working. I bought these polo shirts because my shirts are now threadbare. And it's good to look nice, to clothe your body, to adorn it when you're going out. It's good to look nice. I have 2 pairs of trousers, so I'm replacing those as well. I don't live extravagantly. I have a few nice clothes and I rotate them. And I don't have so many clothes that I have to put winter clothes into storage and then put summer clothes into storage. I just buy enough of what I need. And the other way is if you're looking at debt, so in lay organizations or in popular movements joined onto the church, we had petitions that we wrote in years gone by to forgive the debt of Africa. Many of the African nations have now restructured their debt and they're paying it off. They don't want that debt forgiveness. They're like, we know we had to take this out. We want to pay you back. We don't want your charity. We don't want to be humiliated. We want to give you back your money. So that's another way that it's done. And then when Christians were put into slavery, the Jesuits were also part of that. And so they have a burden on them. And that has only come out, like the whole history of that, in recent years. And that's also part of our journey, because here in Canada there's slavery. Many of us are not paid enough that we can meet our needs. We can't even meet our needs. So how are we going to come up to be landowners, to buy property, to provide shelter for our widowed mothers, and to have a place to say, okay, this is our place. If anything happens, my mother can come and stay with me. How are we going to do that if companies are making billions, but they're not even willing to pay a living wage? And in Canada, that living wage is considered $35 an hour. If you want to at least meet your needs, just to meet your needs. So these are the questions not only for the church, they're not only for like the religious organizations, they're also for us. And I posted the document on my Facebook timeline. It's also available on the Vatican website. And he uses examples of what Jesus did, how Jesus healed and cured, and he didn't only do it for the rich and for those who could pay. I'm sure he had a trade. I'm sure that he didn't live just off the charity of people, because he was preaching, he was teaching, he was healing. So we are not given the context of, okay, they paid him this much, but in order to live, he must have been paid something. And even this concept that they're saying Jesus had said in the scriptures he had nowhere to lay his head. But we know from scripture that Saint Joseph and Mother Mary had a home. And that was also his home. So he wasn't homeless. He had a home. So you have to put it into context. You have to think critically about what the document is saying and also the reality of how Jesus lived. Also to welcome migrants, yes, that's part of our journey. But families like mine, we didn't get any support from the church. We didn't get any material help. We didn't get any financial help. We were the ones who were helping. And that support for the migrants, it doesn't have to be illegal. It has to be legal. It has to be done the right way. Even the systems that President Trump is bringing in to say that people must have an ID to vote and they must show that, that is a requirement in every country. So if America needs to catch up in that, it's good that he's doing it. Because even in Zimbabwe, when I went to vote, we had to produce our ID, then they checked it off, and then you could go vote. So he's doing a good thing by saying that you have to have your ID, because there's many people who are in countries illegally, and they're benefiting from systems that we should benefit from, and we're not getting the benefits. And that includes people like my mother and myself. We had to fight for it. We have to fight for the opportunities to work, to travel, to be able just to have the basics. And that's not the way it should be. So there's examples also of what the sisters have done in the hospitals, how they've cared for the poor. But as lay people, we can do that too. We do it in our professions, when we train as administrators, when we train as nurses or doctors. You don't have to be a nun to do that kind of work. Teaching is another one. The sisters, they give examples of sisters and nuns and religious orders that have gone about teaching and using compassion and love to teach and to help children to come up. But we do that in our own lives too as lay people. Videos like this are things that young people can tap into and they can learn from. So when you read the document, it's important to understand that yes, the Pope has written this for the religious. He's written it, I think, to encourage them. But we also have those roles to play in our own life. And when you graduate, like I did with that Master's in Ministry and Spirituality, you take those skills and you use them in your daily life. Whether it's helping organizations like Global Citizen, whether it's signing a petition, or it's going out and volunteering, those things are integrated, that faith is integrated into our life. The other one that's mentioned is the Order of the Trinitarians. They were the ones who freed the Christians when they were taken into slavery, and they had to raise vast sums of money to free them. So we pray at home. We can do the adoration at home. There's channels on YouTube where you can put the Blessed Sacrament on and you can do that adoration. We do it for 15 minutes in the church after the rosary. Some people stay, others don't, but you can go into a church at any time if you want to be in a church and do it in the church, but you can also do it at home. We pray the rosary at home. So it's a good document to look at in terms of how we understand poverty and how we understand spiritual poverty to our need for the Lord. So I'm at chapter 4 right now, and that's where I stopped, and also incorporating silence into our days, especially during Lent. It's a nice time to incorporate silence, to go out to enjoy nature if you're in a place where the weather's warm and you can do that. But for me, I'm doing this for lay people. I'm doing it for people who are not religious, people who are not in religious communities, people like me who work and we earn our living and we have the burden of daily life because we can't even meet our daily needs. So yes, we can pray to God, but we also take action because faith without works is dead. So that's why it's important for us to remember that. And many people have stopped looking for work. They've given up. They're like, why, it's like, what is the hope? But I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm applying for jobs and I'm looking and I'm sending out my resume. And I have had recruiters present me for positions. I've signed the consent, but I haven't heard back. So hopefully one of those will work out for me. And it's not that long of a period of time to be unemployed. It is long, but there are people who have been out of work much longer than me. And I'm fortunate in that I do have friends, I have family, I have people who love me. So I'm fortunate in that way. God has blessed me. But it's a good document, I think, if you want to read it and to see. He talks a lot about what the priests have done, the religious congregations, and what they've done in the hospitals, in the schools, in prison work, and all of that. Those things are things that all of us can do. All of us can do those things in our daily lives, and that's how society gets built up. It's not only the sisters or the priests or the religious that can do it. we can also do it. And many entrepreneurs like me, spiritual directors, that's what we're doing. We're putting our voice out there, and we're putting our skills out there and saying, this is what I can do. This is how I can help to make my own life better first, and also to help others. Because if we don't look after our own health, our own bodies, our own homes, then we can't look after other people's. And that's why for me it was so disappointing when I had to lose my property, because that was my property for me and my mom. And I had the satisfaction of knowing that nobody gave me the down payment for that property. Nobody helped me to buy that property. I did it on my own. So I hope to come back up again to earn the kind of money where I'm able to do that again, and to buy the property on my own and maintain it and look after it. Because I didn't lose it through anything I did wrong. I lost it because I took the work that was available, which was contract work, and the banks would not renew my mortgage. So that's an injustice in society. And the banks know it, but they are not doing anything to change it. So these are the things that come up when we talk about social justice and how we live out our faith. And for me, I'm focusing on the local level. Like I said, when I go out, I buy food for myself and I give one of those packages to the Daily Bread Food Bank. Because it's easy to sign petitions for people in Africa or Ukraine or wherever, but it's the people around us that I'm focusing on. It's the people in Canada. I do those things too, but first I focus on my own needs. And so I bought some new slippers for myself, some polo shirts, some trousers, because after a while those things get worn out. And if you're going to church or you're going to places, you want to look nice. Even if you're in your own home, you want to look nice. You want to take pride in your appearance. You want to have a chair to sit on. You don't want to sit on the floor or sleep on the floor. So it's not being how can I say, arrogant. It's right to want those things and to do those things. There's nothing wrong with it. And exercising, all those things are part of our faith and they're part of our life. That's the way that I look at it. So other people have their own ways of looking at it. Many people choose poverty. They choose to go and live in monasteries or join with other sisters, congregations, orders, and they choose that life of poverty. I did not choose that life of poverty. And for me, I want to have a big home. I want to travel. I want to have my own car. I like to be able to choose my own clothes and upgrade my wardrobe. And also, I need a new computer. So when I start working, that's one of the things I want to replace, because my computer is old now. I got it at least 8 or 9 years ago. And the keyboard is cracked. I mean, it still works, but the keyboard is cracked and I can't even close it anymore. So obviously, that's something I need to replace. And so that's my reflection for today. And then for the scriptures, the scriptures today are very beautiful. The first one is on Esther and how she's turning to God and saying, I have nobody but you, I am alone. And then the psalm is from Psalm 137, on the day I called, you answered me, O Lord. And the gospel is basically encouraging us to ask, to seek, to knock, and the door will be opened. But it does take perseverance. It does take us treating others as we would want to be treated. And again, culture comes into this. Because if you look at how Jesus acted, how he lived, and what he did, he was countercultural. But he was doing what he wanted others to do for him. He was healing, he was teaching, he was looking out for his own people first, his own family, and then others around him. And that takes us back to the heart of what God's message is about. And so he was breaking laws according to them, but he was loving others in the process. So sometimes when they say that you're not doing good, you might actually be doing good. You might actually be doing good. And I support what President Trump is doing and what our government is doing by saying that we need proper borders. We need to have supports in place for citizens first. We don't need preferential treatment for asylum seekers and refugees when people here are sinking into poverty. We need people to have IDs when they vote. And if they've married and changed their names, then that can be sorted out by them. But we need the systems in place to work for all of us, especially those who have built up our communities, our societies. We need a more human approach. And sometimes animals, they teach us more than humans on what is right and what is loving. I posted a lot of posts from the SPCA in Harare because I often think of the SPCA because that's where we used to go and get our pets and where we used to take our animals. And I'm glad that the people there are showing that they too are human, they too are loving. Because sometimes when you come from those countries, people here treat you like you're stupid. Like, oh, you think you're better than everyone. And it's not the case. But we also are demanding a living wage. We also are demanding accommodation. We also are demanding our references. We are also demanding to be treated like human beings, not to do all the work for people like Bono and then be kicked to the curb, to be thrown under the bus, to be left with no employment, and to risk our citizenships. That is not what responsible people do. And I have always been responsible. Even when my mother came and they wanted me to come to America for that first Christmas, I said no, because there's an obligation. There's an obligation to be available and to be ready to work. And I take my obligations and my duties seriously, and so should others. People should be a bit more serious-minded instead of making fun of my life while it's sinking into poverty. I want to work, and I deserve to work. And I'm also, by the standards of Canada, I'm considered poor because I'm living on less than $2 a day in terms of my income. And after all the work I've put in, all the volunteering with the Conservatives, with the Liberals, with the banks, with different companies, even my videos, after everything I've done, that should not be the case. And they can't blame that on God. That is not God's will. And anybody who says that should know that they're lying to themselves. That is not God's will. They would not let the sisters or the priests go through what I'm going through. It is not right.